Hi, and welcome to Art with Mrs. Torres. Today, I am so excited because we are going to be learning about something that you see every day, and that is your face. We are going to be learning about facial expressions. So, if you saw me and I was on the street and I had a mask on, could you tell whether I was happy or sad? You could. Look at my eyes. You can tell I'm sad, right? How about if I'm smiling? Can you tell that I'm happy? Of course you can. Our faces are so much more than just two dots and a curvy line. So today I'm going to be teaching you some different tips and tricks for making facial expressions. Our supplies are going to be really easy. All we need today is a piece of paper, a pencil, a Sharpie marker, and something to trace circles with. Now I'm going to be using a soup can, but you could also use the lid off of a jar. That will work too. Just anything that you can use to make a couple circles. All right, gather those items up. I can't wait to teach you about your face.
Welcome back. You've got paper, a pencil, a Sharpie marker, maybe an eraser, and something for tracing circles with. Today we're going to be making some fun facial expressions. I can't wait to teach you how to do this project. It's going to be so much fun. Let's take our paper and we're going to put it horizontal and we're going to fold our paper in half. Now don't worry if the lines aren't perfectly straight. It doesn't matter. We just basically want to have our paper folded into 4 pieces. When you're done, just turn it and fold it in half again. As I mentioned before, if the lines aren't completely straight, it won't matter. We just want to break it up into 4 different pieces so we can draw 4 different facial expressions today. When you're finished, you're going to take a can. Well, you're probably going to want to flatten out your paper a little bit too, so just kind of rub it. And then you're going to take a can and we're going to start tracing the circle of the can to make each face. So I'm going to place my can right in the center of this rectangle. Move my can right here so you can see. So I've got a little space on the bottom, a little space up here on the top, space on the bottom, and on the sides. And I'm going to take a pencil and I'm just going to trace around the can. And please don't worry if your pencil gets a little bump or a wobble in it. It doesn't matter. We basically just want to get 4 circles on our paper. And your can might be larger than mine, so you might be getting bigger circles. Maybe you have a larger can, or maybe you have a smaller lid that you're using, and you're going to have smaller circles, and that's fine too. It doesn't matter. You just basically need the shape to help speed up the process of drawing our faces. We're just going to try to keep things really simple as we're doing this project today, not spending a bunch of time trying to figure out the shape of each face. This just makes it easy. And once I've done that, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add now shoulders and a neck. So I'm going to come over here on the side and draw a slightly curved line on this side, and I'm going to do the same on this side. Now you want to make sure the neck is wide enough to hold up your head, so don't make your neck too skinny. And then I'm just going to round the shoulder all the way to the bottom corner here. Now, if you have a really small circle, you don't want to make it look like you have a giant giraffe neck. So if it doesn't make sense to go all the way to the bottom, then don't. I'm going to do the same thing on all 4 of these circles, making a little curved line that comes out for the neck. Don't spend too much time worrying about this part. It doesn't really matter. No one's going to notice. They're not going to make any comments about what your shoulders look like if they're even. You're just basically adding this detail so you don't have a floating head when we're done. All right, so once you've got all 4 necks drawn and shoulders, we're going to begin by now going in and drawing ears on the sides. So we're going to find the halfway mark on each of these circles, and we're just going to draw a curved line, like the letter C, right about the middle of the face. I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side, a backward C, kind of doing my best to line up the top of the ears and the bottom of the ears. We're going to continue doing this on each one. Now, as we're drawing these faces, you might decide later to cover these ears up. Maybe you're going to draw some long hair covering up the ears, and that's fine. This project today is more about the facial expressions, not about drawing perfect proportioned heads. This is about the facial expressions. That's what I really want you to focus on today, okay? Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come to the center of each circle, and we're going to draw a very simplistic nose. So we're going to go right in the center of our ears, right in the middle of the face, and we're going to draw a small smile like this. That's going to be our really simple nose for today. I'm going to complete that on each face. Now that I have done that, you want to make sure that your nose is right in the middle. So sometimes when I'm putting my pencil like this, I can kind of see if I have even spaces. And I can see right here, uh-oh, my nose is a little bit over to the left on this one. So I'm going to move that a little bit more to the center. I want you to check your faces also and see if yours need to be scooted over a little bit more. It looks like this one also is a little too far over on the left side. So I'm going to erase this one and move this one over just a little bit too. Now, when I'm finished with that, we're going to move on to our first facial expression. So the first one we're going to work on is happy. So you saw in my introduction that this is really not what our faces look like when we're happy, right? We have a lot more things going on with our face when we smile. So not only does our mouth smile, but our eyes are smiling too. So the first thing we're going to do for a happy face is we're going to change the shape of the eye. We're actually not going to draw two dots. We're going to start with our lower eyelid. So if you had a mirror near you, you could look at the mirror and you would see that when you smile, your lower eyelids actually start to curve up like a little rainbow. So right here, kind of close to my nose. We don't want to draw our eyes way high on our forehead. So kind of close to the edge of my nose, I'm going to draw a rounded curve like this. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm just going to draw a rounded curve, kind of like a little rainbow shape. Now this is funny. I know that that is not on my mouth. That's supposed to be my nose, but doesn't it look like two eyes and a little happy mouth right now? All right, now let's work on the next part of our face, which will be our mouth. So our mouth, we can draw a very simple smile like this for happy. Don't draw it yet, just watch. And that would look great. We look happy. But in order to really look like we're happy, I'm going to change this up a little bit. Let me grab my magic rub. I'm going to actually make my mouth a little bit bigger so that you can actually see my teeth and me smiling. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise my upper lip up a little higher, closer to the bottom of my nose, and I'm going to curve this line around. And I'm going to add a little cheek mark on both sides. I call it the T, because when we smile, actually our cheeks start to kind of puff up and we get a little kind of a slight line on the edge of our mouth. Now the next part of our smile is going to be our lower lip, and it's going to match the top lip. So I'm going to come below here, leaving a small space, and I'm going to make a matching curve, but it's just going to be a slightly shorter line. It's also curved, just like this one, and then I'm going to connect it at the corners. Now my next trick is, instead of drawing each tooth individually, I'm going to just draw a slight curve line right through the middle. Make sure it's curved, because your mouth is curved, so our teeth actually curve. And already you can see that looks a lot better than this face. But not only do our eyes have a little arch to them, but also our eyebrows do as well. So I'm going to make just a very gentle curve for my eyebrows. Now this isn't going to be necessarily me. We can turn each one of these into a different character later. So once you've done a happy face, Then we're going to move on over here to the next face. So the next face we're going to do is sad. So you saw in my intro that this is the way that an emoji would be drawn for a sad face. But we have a lot more things happening in our face than just two dots and an upside down smile. So let's show you now what happens when we are sad. So when we're sad, not only is our mouth sad, our lip is sad, and not only that, but our eyes actually have a slight slanted curve down, as well as our eyebrows. So there are a lot of things going on. Even if I was to cover up my mouth here, you could still see that this face is sad. Even if I was to cover up the nose as well, you can see that the face does not look happy. And so that's important that when we're drawing our sad face, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go in now, and the first thing we're going to do is draw our lower eyelids. And our lower eyelids are where our eyeballs are going to be resting. So I'm going to go right here next to the corner of my nose, just like I did before, and I'm going to draw a very gentle curve. It does not have to be very high. I'm going to match it on this side, kind of close to the nose. Make sure that you're making it big, because this is a big circle, so you want those eyes to fill out those spaces. So make sure that you're making those eyes large enough to fill out those spaces. And the next thing you're going to do is now we're going to add an open part to put our eye in. So I'm going to just draw a curved line that comes around to the side like this. I call it candy cane. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So I'm going to make a little mark where I want to start it, and then I'm going to draw a curved candy cane line on this side. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add an eye right here. I'm going to put a little pupil in there. So I'm going to draw a big rounded circle. Match it on this side. And then let me zoom in a little bit so you can see this. Then I'm going to make the eyes look a little sad by curving an eyelid slightly on an angle like this. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And it still looks like I'm happy because that's my nose, but you can see from my eyes now, if I cover up the nose, that you can see that that's making a sad face. And then I'm going to make some sad eyebrows. So my sad eyebrows are curving just like my eyelids do, slightly like this, almost like you're forming a teepee. Now the next part of my sad face is going to be my frown. And I already know you know how to make that. So I'm just going to curve the line underneath. And not only would my mouth be frowning, but also my lower lip would match. So I'm just going to draw a little indentation like this. And that really makes like my face look like I'm sad. Now I'm going to go in here and I'm going to add a little half curve with my pencil. And this is going to remind me later that when I am coloring in my pupil, I'm going to color only the lower portion, this part, and I'm going to leave that top part so I have a little light in my eye. You don't have to do that. That's just something I'm going to be doing. So when you're sad, you could also add eyelashes. I'm sorry, you could also, so when you're sad, you could also add a little tear. So if you wanted to draw a little tear coming down from the eye, you could, but you don't have to. And I wouldn't draw too many of them. You might draw one or two, but you don't want to draw a bunch all over the face. Just a few. One or two is good. Now once we're done with our sad face, our next one, in this section here, we're going to do surprised. Let me show you what a surprised face looks like. So when you're doing a surprise face, we're going to be making our eyes big and wide and open. So let me zoom in my camera. I'm going to show you now the next step in making a surprise face. So the first thing we're going to change up a little bit is we're not going to be drawing that lower eyelid like we did before. We're going to actually open our eyes up big and wide, more exaggerated. We really want to make these eyes a little larger. So I'm going to be drawing a very light letter C like this, or parentheses like that. And then on this side, I'm going to be matching it by drawing another backwards C on this side. And then in the center of those, instead of having the pupil resting on the lower eyelid, we're actually going to be floating the pupil. So I'm just going to draw an oval right here in the center of both of those eyes. I'm going to add a little highlight curve and a little scribble underneath to remind me that that's the part I'm going to be coloring in. And as you can see, my nose is starting to make me think that I'm smiling, but no, 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 we are not going to be smiling. We are going to be surprised. And before we move on to the mouth, I want to remind you that the eyebrows have to look surprised too. So when you're surprised, your eyebrows go very high up onto your forehead, and they kind of arch up, just like they do when you're sad. The difference is your mouth. Usually when you are surprised, you might kind of gasp in a deep breath, oh, making a sound like that. So you would want to make your mouth making a small circle or oval like this. You can color that in later with our marker. And then your lower lip underneath, you're just going to draw a little indentation like this. All right, once you're finished with your surprise face, our final one is going to be silly. Now, silly faces come in all different shapes and sizes. Sometimes you might cross your eyes, you might stick out your tongue, you might do something silly with your whole facial expression. So I'm going to really exaggerate my eyes this time for my silly face. I'm going to make larger eyes, a little bit bigger circles. Now you can keep them ovals or circles. You can copy what I'm doing. You can make them even larger. You can bring them close together. You don't even have to draw the entire circle. You could just draw the oval and only ink in part of it like I did here. So I'm going to let you decide when we get ready to do that part in just a minute. But for now, let's put some exaggerated circles or ovals in. And usually when you're doing a silly face, you kind of cross your eyes or look in one direction or another direction. So I thought it would be kind of fun to make one eye looking up and one eye kind of looking down toward the nose. Now you might choose to put your eyes looking in other directions. I'm going to make my eyebrows doing something different too. So I'm going to make this eyebrow kind of wibbly wobbly, and I'm going to make this eyebrow tilting up. So already that face looks quite silly. I could also add some eyelids if I wanted to kind of cover part of the eye up. I can add a little eyelid. And my final part will be my mouth. So when my kids are doing something silly, when I'm trying to get them to be serious for a picture, and I'm trying to get my 3 kids together, there's always one of them sticking out their tongue or doing something silly, some silly smile. So I'm going to be putting my tongue sticking out right here on my little face right there. And I'm going to be putting my tongue on the side, not right down in the front. Because if you put it in the front, it might look like you're making rabbit teeth. So you can see that if I draw it right here, it kind of looks more like rabbit teeth and not like a tongue. So I'm going to be putting my tongue kind of off to the side. And you don't have to make a wobbly smile. You could just make a regular straight smile if you'd like to. It's really up to you. I want you to have fun with this. And then, of course, we got to do a little lower lip underneath. So I'm just going to draw a little indentation for my lip. Now we've got happy, sad, surprised, and silly. Now our next part of our project is to decide what kind of characters or people do you want to draw on each face. You could make some girls, you could make some boys, you could make them all be you if you'd like to. It's really going to be up to you. I want you to be creative with that part, and you can do that with your pencil. And so let's say we're going to start with I always start just first by putting a shirt onto the character. So maybe for this character is going to have just a circle neck like a t-shirt. So what I'm going to do is draw just a curved line that goes across from one side to the other. This is the neck of the shirt. I'll straighten out my line later with my marker. And then I'm going to decide what type of hairstyle do I want this person to be. Is it going to be a boy or a girl? So on the last time I did my character to be a girl. So this time I'll make this character be a boy. So maybe this boy has short bangs. By the way, if you don't have a bald head, you have hair that grows up over your hair, over your head. So I'm going to draw his hair coming around the top of his head. It's a little bit taller than this line here. And maybe he's got, now I'm going to erase the top of the circle because I don't need that anymore. And his hair is going to kind of brush off to the side here, and maybe some short hair around his ears. And then it's going to be parted, and the other part of his hair is going to go this direction. Maybe he's got a couple little hairs sticking up on top of his head. There. All right, so there's my first character. Now, what about the second one? So maybe the second one, the last time I made the second character a boy, maybe this time I'll make my character a girl. So maybe I want to make the shirt a little different. Maybe I want to make a different style neckline for the shirt. And let's see, what kind of hair could she have? Maybe she's going to have long hair. So I'm going to start a little bit of hair on the top of her head. It's going to go farther out than her ear and maybe come down to her shoulders. Same on this side, past her ears and then down to her shoulders. I'm going to erase the top of her head because I don't need that anymore. And maybe now she's going to have her hair parted in the middle. And it's going to come all the way down and get tucked behind her ears. I'm going to make her head a little bit higher. And since this is a girl, I might add a few eyelashes right here. So now I've got two characters done. I'm going to move down to this one, Surprised. So first thing I'm going to do is figure out a shirt. So I'm going to do a V-neck collar for this one, which could be like a soccer jersey or a baseball shirt or just a t-shirt that's got a V-neck on it. Make that one a little different. And now I got to figure out some hair for this one. So I'm thinking, since the face is surprised, maybe the hair is surprised too. So maybe we're going to have some fun, spiky hair. I'm going to draw a straight line up from here and here. And just go all the way across the top. And I'm going to cover up that bald head by bringing it a little bit underneath that line. So there's that character. I've got one more here, my silly character. I haven't done curly hair yet, so maybe I'll do a curly hair character. So for this one, I could do a girl, I could do a boy. So if I wanted to do a curly haired boy or somebody with short curly hair, I'm just going to make rounded curves that come all the way down around, kind of like a little halo around the head. And I'm going to erase this line here because I don't need that anymore. And I'm going to add a little bit of curl on the side that comes down and touches the ears. Then you can just go in and add just a few little letter C's and backward C's, little loops to draw curly hair. Now let's say you wanted the character to have wavy hair. So not curly, but wavy hair. So I could even do that with this girl up here. So let me change her hairstyle. I'm going to erase her hair here. And I'm going to change her hair to wavy hair. So this is first where her hair used to be. I'm going to draw the top of her head here, back to where it used to be. So this is the top of her head. So I'm going to make a wavy line that goes around the top of her head. So remember how we had that circle there before? So now I'm just going to do a wavy line that comes around like this. And I'm going to make her hair that comes down in front also be wavy. I think I'll give her a side part. And then I'm going to make a wavy hairstyle. Maybe it kind of even goes in front of her ears a little bit. See, so I can cover up part of the ear. I can erase the top of her head. Now, I have a little girl, or a girl. It's got wavy hair. So it's so fun to create different characters, or you can make all these characters be you. Now my next part of this project is to go in with your Sharpie marker and you're going to trace over all the lines you want to keep and erase all your pencil lines using either your magic rub or the back of your pencil. So go in now and you're going to take your Sharpie marker, and when you're working with your Sharpie marker, I'm going to remind you, especially if this is your first time watching my lessons, you want to work quickly when you're using the Sharpie marker. So as I am tracing over my lines, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my lid on the back of my pen, and I want to work quickly. You also can always rotate your paper if you have to do a curve, because it's a little easier to curve your pen if you rotate your paper. So if you were right-handed, you'd want to turn your paper this way to draw your curve. I am a lefty, so I curve my paper the other way. Also, when we're working with a Sharpie marker, it's going to leak onto the back of the paper. You can see my marks on my background paper. So you always want to have something underneath when you're working with your Sharpie marker so that you don't get any ink on your table. And then I want to work quickly with my marker. I also find that your marker will work better if you pull it toward you instead of pushing it away. So as I'm drawing all of my lines, I'm pulling the marker to me instead of pushing it away. As you're working, and if you change your mind and you decide to make the hair a little bit different, feel free to. So you can see I'm adding a little bit more texture to the hair. I'm actually kind of moving the pen a little bit more loosely so it doesn't look like he has a super stiff hairstyle. And I'm going to just kind of take my pen and pull it across the top of his hair here. Now this side of his hair is growing this direction because there's a part, so I'm going to brush my marker going that way. The nose, that was pretty easy. Trace my eyes and my eyebrows. Tracing my neck, my shoulder, and then the neckline of the shirt. So what I'd like you to do now is go in, trace all of your characters, and then take your magic rubber eraser and erase all of your pencil lines when you're done. And then meet me back here, and we'll talk about some other options when you're done. Well, I've finished drawing all of my faces. I've inked over everything, and now is the fun part. You could go in now and you could use crayons, colored pencils, watercolor, chalk pastels, oil pastels, any type of tool to color these in. And you could even write the different names of the facial expressions. You could recreate this project into a poster. Let's say you have a project at school and you have to draw some characters for a book report. Now you would know how to draw different faces for that. Maybe you have a friend and something happened and they're very sad. You could make a little card and put your face or put a picture of them, and now that you know how to draw that. Maybe you could take this face along with making a birthday card for someone and do a birthday surprise card. So anyway, I hope you had fun learning how to draw our different facial expressions today. I can see big changes compared to what an emoji thinks we look like compared to what our real faces look like. I can't wait to keep teaching you lots of projects. Would you email me a picture of your finished projects when you're done? I would love to see the work that you come up with. My email is rtorres@lcusd.net. And if you write to me, I promise to write back. I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.